Good morning, all. The topic of today's lecture is larynx. This is the second lecture on larynx. In the first part, you have seen the what is larynx, what are the different cartilages and muscles of the larynx, and their actions. So today I'll be continuing the lecture with the cavity of larynx, then its blood supply, nerve supply, lymphatic drainage, and applied anatomy. So the specific learning objectives of today's lecture is to describe the cavity of larynx, to describe the spaces of larynx and their functions, and to know the blood supply, lymphatic drainage, nerve supply, and applied anatomy of larynx. Now, what are the functions of larynx? It regulates the airflow during ventilation. It prevents the entry of foreign bodies. It fixes the thorax during exertion, defecation, and parturition, and it acts as an organ of phonation. Now, before dealing with the today's topic, we'll just quickly revise the cartilages and muscles of the larynx. Now, here in this picture, you can see this is the epiglottis, this is the thyroid cartilage, and this is the cricoid cartilage. So, the larynx extends from the upper border of the epiglottis at the level of third cervical vertebra to the lower border of cricoid cartilage at the level of sixth cervical vertebra. So the larynx extends from upper border of the epiglottis to the lower border of cricoid cartilage, that is it extends from third cervical vertebra to sixth cervical vertebra. In children and females, it is located at a higher level. Now, which are the different cartilages of larynx? The larynx consists of 3 unpaired cartilages and 3 paired cartilages. Now, unpaired cartilages are the epiglottis. This is the epiglottis, leaf-shaped epiglottis. Then this is the thyroid cartilage, and just below the thyroid cartilage, this is cricoid cartilage. So, 3 unpaired cartilages, epiglottis, thyroid cartilage, and cricoid cartilage. And 3 paired cartilages are arytenoid cartilage, corniculate cartilage, and cuneiform cartilage. Now, these are 2 arytenoid cartilages. These are pyramidal in shape, and the arytenoid cartilage is situated at the upper surface of the lamina of cricoid cartilage. This is the cricoid cartilage. So there are 2 arytenoid cartilages, and on the apex of the arytenoid cartilage there is corniculate cartilage and cuneiform cartilage. Very small cartilages, corniculate cartilage and cuneiform. So 3 paired cartilages are arytenoid cartilage, corniculate cartilage, and cuneiform cartilage. Now, which are the muscles of the larynx? These are the intrinsic muscles of the larynx. The cricothyroid muscle, which extends from the cricoid cartilage to the thyroid cartilage, cricothyroid. Then lateral cricoarytenoid, which extends from the cricoid cartilage to the arytenoid cartilage, muscular process of arytenoid cartilage. So lateral cricoarytenoid. There is posterior cricoarytenoid, and this posterior cricoarytenoid is situated on the posterior surface of the lamina of cricoid cartilage. So this is the posterior cricoarytenoid, which extends from cricoid to arytenoid cartilage. Then oblique arytenoid. So these muscles are oblique arytenoid. They crisscross each other. So oblique arytenoid and aryepiglottis. This is the aryepiglottis, which is a continuation of oblique arytenoid muscle. So this is the oblique arytenoid and continuation of the oblique arytenoid is aryepiglottis, aryepiglotticus muscle. Then this is the transverse arytenoid. It is located on the posterior surface of the arytenoid cartilages. So transverse arytenoid. This is the unpaired muscle. Then vocalis. This muscle is the vocalis, which extends from the thyroid angle to the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. So vocalis. Lateral to the vocalis, there is thyroarytenoideus. This is thyroarytenoideus muscle, which extends from the thyroid angle to the arytenoid cartilage. So vocalis and thyroarytenoideus muscle. And then thyroepiglotticus. This muscle is the thyroepiglotticus, which extends from the thyroid angle to the epiglottis. Okay. So vocalis, thyroarytenoideus and thyroepiglottis. Now which are the ligaments of larynx? There is thyrohyoid membrane. These are all fibroelastic membrane. This thyrohyoid membrane extends from the upper border of the thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone. So this ligament is the thyrohyoid membrane. Then from the lower border of the thyroid cartilage to the upper border of the anterior arch of the cricoid cartilage, there is a thick fibrous band. This is called as the conus elasticus. Okay. Then the cricotracheal ligament, which extends from the lower border of the cricoid cartilage to the first tracheal ring. So the thyrohyoid membrane, conus elasticus, which is a thick fibrous band, and this ligament is the cricotracheal ligament. Then the hyoepiglottic ligament. This is the sagittal section of the larynx. This is the hyoid bone and this is the epiglottis. So from hyoid bone to the epiglottis, to the anterior surface of epiglottis, this fan shaped ligament is the hyoepiglottic ligament. And then the thyroepiglottic ligament from the thyroid cartilage, posterior surface of thyroid cartilage to the lower end of the epiglottis. So thyroepiglottic ligament. Then on the inner surface of the larynx, there are fibroelastic ligaments. The inner surface of the larynx is covered by mucous membrane, and deep to the mucous membrane there are the fibroelastic ligaments, and these ligaments are the quadrate ligament. So this ligament is the quadrate ligament, and this quadrate ligament extends from the arytenoid cartilage, this is arytenoid cartilage, to the epiglottis and thyroid cartilage. So quadrate ligament, it is situated on the inner surface of the larynx deep to the mucous membrane, and it extends from the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis and anteriorly to the thyroid angle. Now this quadrate membrane has upper free border. This border is the upper border of the quadrate membrane which is free, and this upper free border is present in the aryepiglottic fold. Between the arytenoid cartilage and epiglottis, there is a mucosal fold that is called as the aryepiglottic fold, and this aryepiglottic fold consists of upper border of the quadrate membrane, while lower border of the quadrate membrane is also free and it is thickened, and this lower border of the quadrate membrane forms the vestibular ligament. So the quadrate membrane has upper border and a lower border. The upper border is free and it is situated in the aryepiglottic fold. Aryepiglottic fold is a mucosal fold which extends from the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis. While the lower border of the quadrate membrane is thickened and it is free, and this forms the vestibular ligament. And this vestibular ligament, it extends from the arytenoid cartilage to the thyroid angle. So from arytenoid cartilage, vocal process of arytenoid cartilage to the thyroid angle, this is the vestibular ligament. And this vestibular ligament, it is covered by mucous membrane and it is lined by the ciliated columnar epithelium, and then it forms a fold, mucosal fold, and that is called as the vestibular fold. So in the upper border of the quadrate membrane there is aryepiglottic fold, while in the lower border of the quadrate membrane there is vestibular fold, and this vestibular fold consists of vestibular ligament. Then another ligament is the cricovocal membrane. Now this cricovocal membrane, it extends from the cricoid cartilage, the anterior arch of the cricoid cartilage, to the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. This is the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. So cricovocal membrane extends from the anterior upper border of the anterior arch of the cricoid cartilage to the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage, and this cricovocal membrane has upper free border. So the upper border of the cricovocal membrane is free and it is thickened and it forms the vocal ligament. So the vocal ligament is the upper free border of cricovocal membrane. Now this vocal ligament, it extends from the thyroid angle to the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. So similar to vestibular ligament, this is vestibular ligament which extends from thyroid angle to the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. The vocal ligament also extends from thyroid angle to the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. And this vocal ligament, it is covered by mucous membrane and it is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. And then it forms a mucosal fold, and that is called as vocal fold. So in the larynx, in the cavity of the larynx, there are three folds. The aryepiglottic fold, which extends from arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis, and this aryepiglottic fold contains the upper border of quadrate membrane. Then there is vestibular fold which extends from the thyroid angle to the arytenoid cartilage, and it contains a ligament, that is the vestibular ligament, and this vestibular ligament is nothing but the lower thickened border of quadrate membrane. And the third fold is the vocal fold. This vocal fold extends from the thyroid angle to the arytenoid cartilage, and it contains a ligament, that is the vocal ligament, and this vocal ligament is the upper free border of cricovocal membrane, and it is thickened. Now the cavity of the larynx extends from the laryngeal inlet to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. So the cavity of the larynx extends from the laryngeal inlet to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, and the anterior wall of the cavity is larger than the posterior wall. Now, what are the divisions of laryngeal cavity? Now, this is the coronal section of the larynx, and the cavity of the larynx is divided into three parts by vestibular folds and vocal folds. We have seen within the cavity there are two folds, the vestibular fold and vocal folds. These are two mucosal folds. That means they are covered by mucous membrane. So the vestibular fold, these are the pair of vestibular folds, and there are two vocal folds. So the vestibular folds and vocal folds, they divide the cavity of the larynx into three parts. Now, which are the three parts of the larynx? Now, from the aryepiglottic fold, this is the epiglottis, from the aryepiglottic fold to the vestibular fold, this part of the cavity is called as supraglottic part or vestibule. From the aryepiglottic fold to the vestibular fold, the part of the cavity is called as supraglottic part or vestibule. Then between vestibular fold and vocal fold, this part of the cavity, between vestibular fold and two vocal folds, this part, very small part of the cavity, is called as glottis or ventricle or sinus of larynx. Okay, so between vestibular fold and vocal folds, the part of the cavity is called as glottic part or ventricle or sinus of larynx. So this ventricle or sinus of larynx, it is a deep mucous recess and it extends laterally towards the, so it extends laterally towards the lamina of thyroid cartilage. This is the lamina of cut end of the lamina of thyroid cartilage. So this recess extends laterally towards the lamina of thyroid cartilage, and this ventricle has a diverticulum which extends upwards. So this is the diverticulum, and this diverticulum is called as saccule of the larynx. So the middle part of the cavity is called as ventricle or sinus of larynx, and this sinus of larynx, it is very small part, it extends laterally, and then it has a diverticulum which is called as saccule of the larynx. And below vocal folds up to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. This part of the larynx is called as infraglottic part. So the larynx is divided into three parts. The upper part is supraglottic part or vestibule. It lies between aryepiglottic fold and vestibular folds. So here this is the schematic diagram. So the vestibule or supraglottic part lies between the aryepiglottic fold and vestibular fold, and it is like inverted, it is like funnel shape. Then the middle part is called as ventricle or sinus of larynx. So this is the ventricle or sinus of larynx. And this sinus of larynx has a diverticulum which is called as saccule of the larynx. So this ventricle or sinus of larynx is situated between vestibular fold and vocal folds. And below vocal folds, up to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, this part is called as the infraglottic part. Now what is aryepiglottic fold? We have already seen the aryepiglottic fold. It extends from the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis. This is the coronal section of the larynx. This is the epiglottis. And here you can see the aryepiglottic fold. So it extends from the epiglottis to the arytenoid cartilage. And this aryepiglottic fold is a mucosal fold. It is lined by mucous membrane, and the lining epithelium is stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Now this aryepiglottic fold, it contains two muscles, two cartilages and one ligament. So now in this picture, this is the epiglottis. This is the arytenoid cartilage. So extending from the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis, this fold, this mucosal fold is called as aryepiglottic fold. There are two aryepiglottic folds, and this aryepiglottic fold contains two muscles. These are the aryepiglotticus. So here this muscle is the aryepiglotticus, which extends from arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis. So aryepiglotticus and thyroepiglotticus, from thyroid angle to the epiglottis. So this aryepiglottic fold contains two muscles, aryepiglotticus and thyroepiglotticus. Then it consists of two cartilages, that is the corniculate cartilage and cuneiform cartilage. These cartilages, they are very small cartilages situated on the apex of the arytenoid cartilage. These cartilages, corniculate and cuneiform cartilage, they act as prop and they keep the aryepiglottic fold straight. And the third content of the aryepiglottic fold is the quadrate membrane, the upper border of the quadrate membrane. Now here this is the quadrate membrane, the purple shaded area is the quadrate membrane, and the upper free border of the quadrate membrane lies in the aryepiglottic fold. So aryepiglottic fold consists of two muscles, aryepiglotticus and thyroepiglotticus, two cartilages, the corniculate cartilage and cuneiform cartilage, and the upper border of the quadrate membrane. And this aryepiglottic fold, it is covered by mucous membrane and it is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Now here this is the endoscopic view of the larynx. This is the superior view. Here you can see the epiglottis. Posteriorly there are arytenoid cartilages and this is between two arytenoid cartilages. This is the interarytenoid fold of mucous membrane, and from the epiglottis to the arytenoid cartilage, this mucosal fold is called as aryepiglottic fold. So aryepiglottic fold, they are present on both sides. So connecting the arytenoid cartilage to the epiglottis, this is the aryepiglottic fold. It is a mucosal fold lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. And this fold contains the two muscles, two cartilages. These are the two cartilages. Here you can see the tubercles. So these are the corniculate and cuneiform cartilage and upper border of the quadrate membrane. Then the next fold is the vestibular fold. So below aryepiglottic fold, there is another fold, another mucosal fold, that is the vestibular fold. These are pair of vestibular folds. These vestibular folds, these are mucosal folds lined by ciliated columnar epithelium. So these mucosal folds are lined by ciliated columnar epithelium, and these vestibular folds contain vestibular ligament and submucous areolar tissue. Now here, this is the sagittal section of the larynx. Now here you can see this is the quadrate membrane, and the lower border of the quadrate membrane forms the vestibular ligament. So this vestibular ligament is present in the vestibular fold. So this vestibular ligament is covered by the mucous membrane, forms the vestibular fold. Then again, this is the superior view of the laryngeal cavity. We have seen these are the aryepiglottic folds. Then just below aryepiglottic fold, these folds on either side, these are the vestibular folds. So the vestibular folds, these are the mucosal folds covered by mucous membrane, and it is lined by ciliated columnar epithelium. And this vestibular folds contains vestibular ligament and submucous areolar tissue. Vestibular ligament, it is the lower free border of quadrate membrane. Now third mucosal fold within the cavity is the vocal folds. Now here these are the vocal folds. Again, there is a pair of vocal folds, and these vocal folds, these are the mucosal folds covered by mucous membrane, and these vocal folds are lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Remember, the vestibular folds are lined by ciliated columnar epithelium, while vocal folds are lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Now these vocal folds contain vocal ligament, then the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage and vocalis muscle. Now here, this is the vocal ligament, and this vocal ligament extends from the thyroid angle to the arytenoid cartilage. This is the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage, and this vocal ligament is nothing but the upper free border of cricovocal membrane. This is the cricovocal membrane. So upper free border of the cricovocal membrane forms the vocal ligament, and it extends from the thyroid angle to the vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. And this vocal ligament In addition to that, lateral to the vocal ligament, there is vocalis muscle. So this muscle is the vocalis muscle and the vocal process. So these three structures, the vocal ligament, the vocalis muscle and vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. These three structures are covered by mucous membrane, which is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and this mucosal fold is called as vocal fold. Clear? So the vocal ligament and vocal folds are two different terms. The vestibular ligament and vestibular folds are two different terms. The vestibular ligament and submucous areolar tissue are covered by mucous membrane and forms the mucosal fold. That fold is called as vestibular fold, while vocal ligament, the vocalis muscle and vocal process of arytenoid cartilage are covered by mucous membrane, which is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and that mucosal fold is called as vocal fold. Now here again this is the superior view. We have seen this is the aryepiglottic fold. Below aryepiglottic fold, this fold is the vestibular fold, and just below vestibular fold you can see the vocal folds. So these are the vocal folds. These vocal folds are pearly white in color. They are pearly white in color. They are situated just below the vestibular folds. It is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and these vocal folds contain vocal ligament, vocal process of arytenoid cartilage and vocalis muscle. Now vocal ligament is present in the anterior 3/5 part of the vocal fold. This is the vocal fold. So anterior 3/5 part contains the vocal ligament, while posterior 2/5 part of vocal fold contains vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. And lateral to the vocal ligament, there is vocalis muscle. Now, which are the spaces of laryngeal cavity? Now, laryngeal cavity consists of three spaces: the laryngeal inlet, then rima vestibuli and rima glottidis. Now laryngeal inlet, it is the space between two aryepiglottic folds. These are two aryepiglottic folds. The space between two aryepiglottic fold is called as laryngeal inlet. Now in this picture it is clear. This is the specimen showing the tongue. This is the tongue. Posterior to the tongue, this is the epiglottis, and on the posterior aspect there are arytenoid cartilages, and between arytenoid cartilage and epiglottis, these are the aryepiglottic folds. So the space between aryepiglottic fold, this space is called as laryngeal inlet, and this laryngeal inlet is bounded anteriorly by the upper border of epiglottis. Posteriorly, it is bounded by the interarytenoid mucosal fold, and on each side, the laryngeal inlet is bounded by aryepiglottic fold. So the laryngeal inlet is bounded anteriorly by the upper border of epiglottis, posteriorly interarytenoid mucosal fold, and on each side it is bounded by the aryepiglottic fold. Now we have seen the aryepiglottic fold contains two muscles, that is the aryepiglotticus and thyroepiglotticus. Now contraction of the aryepiglotticus closes the laryngeal inlet. So due to contraction of aryepiglotticus, the aryepiglottic folds, they come close to each other. So there is a closure of laryngeal inlet. And another muscle in the aryepiglottic fold is the thyroepiglotticus, and due to contraction of thyroepiglotticus, there is opening of the laryngeal inlet. The opening of the laryngeal inlet is a passive movement, but this is assisted by the thyroepiglotticus muscle. So closure of the laryngeal inlet is caused by the contraction of aryepiglotticus. So during swallowing, the aryepiglotticus muscle contracts and there is closure of the laryngeal inlet, and opening of the laryngeal inlet is caused by the thyroepiglotticus. Now the second space in the larynx is the rima vestibuli. Now what is rima vestibuli? It is the space between the two vestibular folds. These are two vestibular folds. The whatever space between the two vestibular folds is called as rima vestibuli. Now in this picture, this is again endoscopic view, superior view. Here these are the vestibular folds. These two are the vestibular folds. So the space between the vestibular fold, this space is called as rima vestibuli. So the space between the vestibular folds is called as rima vestibuli. What is the function of rima vestibuli? This is the rima vestibuli. This rima vestibuli, it acts as an exit valve. What it means? That means it prevents the exit of the air at the end of inspiration. It prevents the exit of the air at the end of inspiration. Now what it means? So all of you do one exercise. All of you take the breath in and hold the breath for a while at the end of inspiration. So take the breath in and hold the breath for a while at the end of inspiration. So that holding of the breath is caused by the rima vestibuli. So at the end of inspiration, you can hold the breath for some time by the action of rima vestibuli. These vestibular folds come close to each other at the end of inspiration. So you can hold the breath at the end of inspiration. So it acts as exit valve. Then the third space in the larynx is the rima glottidis. Now rima glottidis, it is the space, very narrow space between the two vocal folds. These are the two vocal folds, and the space between the two vocal folds is called as rima glottidis. Now in this picture, this is the vocal fold. This is vestibular fold and this is the vocal fold. So these are the two vocal folds, and the space between two vocal folds is called as rima glottidis. Now what are the boundaries of rima glottidis? Now here this pearly white structure is the vocal fold and this is the epiglottis. So this is anterior and this is the posterior aspect. So rima glottidis is bounded anteriorly by the posterior surface of the thyroid angle. Posteriorly, it is bounded by the interarytenoid mucosal fold, and on each side, it is bounded by the vocal folds. So, rima glottidis is bounded anteriorly by the thyroid angle, posteriorly by the interarytenoid mucosal fold, and on each side it is bounded by the vocal folds. Now we have already seen the vocal folds consist of vocal ligament in the anterior 3/5 part. In the anterior 3/5 part there is vocal ligament, and in the posterior 2/5 part there is vocal process of arytenoid cartilage. So rima glottidis is divided into two parts. Between the vocal ligaments, this part, the anterior 3/5 part of the rima glottidis, is called as intermembranous part, while posterior 2/5 part, which lies between the vocal processes of the arytenoid cartilage, this part is called as intercartilaginous part. So rima glottidis is divided into two parts. The anterior 3/5 part is intermembranous part, and the posterior 2/5 part is intercartilaginous part. Now, what are the movements of vocal folds? There are four movements occur in the vocal folds: the abduction, adduction, tension, and relaxation. Now, abduction of vocal folds means the two vocal folds move away from each other, and this abduction of vocal folds is caused by posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. So this muscle is the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, which causes the abduction of vocal fold. And as it abducts the vocal fold, so it allows the air entry, and therefore this muscle is called as safety muscle of the larynx. In paralysis of this muscle, the vocal folds remain adducted and the patient will suffer from suffocation. So, posterior cricoarytenoid muscle is called as safety muscle of the larynx. In full inspiration, the intercartilaginous part, intermembranous part as well as intercartilaginous part, they get abducted. So the shape of the glottis becomes diamond shape. So this diamond shaped glottis is seen in full inspiration because both parts of glottis, rima glottidis, remain abducted. Then in quiet breathing, the intermembranous part becomes triangular while intercartilaginous part becomes rectangular. So the shape of the glottis becomes pentagonal in shape. So in full inspiration, it becomes diamond shape. In quiet breathing, it is pentagonal. Then the second action of vocal fold is the adduction. In this, the two vocal folds come close to each other. Then the adduction of the intermembranous part means anterior 3/5 part. The adduction of intermembranous part is caused by lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. This muscle is the lateral cricoarytenoid. So adduction of intermembranous part is caused by the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. Then adduction of intercartilaginous part, that means posterior 2/5 part, is caused by transverse arytenoid muscle, and a pair of oblique arytenoid muscle. So adduction of intercartilaginous part is caused by transverse arytenoid and a pair of oblique arytenoid muscles. Now in whispering voice, the intermembranous part is adducted while intercartilaginous part is abducted, it becomes wide. So the shape of the glottis become inverted funnel shape. Okay, so in whispering voice, the intermembranous part is adducted and intercartilaginous part is widened and the shape of the glottis becomes inverted funnel shape. And in high pitched voice, both parts, the intermembranous as well as the intercartilaginous, both parts become narrow and the shape of the glottis becomes linear chink. So in high pitched voice, both parts become narrow and the shape of the glottis becomes linear chink. So in phonation, the vocal cords come close to each other and there is a vibration of the vocal cords. While in inspiration, the vocal cords move away from each other. Now, third action of vocal fold is the tension or elongation, and this is caused by the cricothyroid muscle. This muscle is the cricothyroid muscle, and this contraction of this muscle increases the distance between the thyroid angle and the arytenoid cartilage, and therefore the length of the vocal ligament increases and there is tension in the vocal folds. And the fourth action of vocal fold is a relaxation or shortening, and this relaxation of vocal folds is mainly caused by the thyroarytenoid muscle. This muscle is the thyroarytenoid muscle which is situated lateral to the vocalis muscle. So thyroarytenoid muscle causes the relaxation or shortening of the vocal folds and it is assisted by the vocalis muscle. So the vocal folds shows four movements: the abduction, adduction, tension and relaxation. Now what are the functions of rima glottidis? Now rima glottidis acts as entry wall. That means it prevents the air entry into the trachea. So it prevents the air entry at the end of expiration. So one can hold the breath at the end of expiration for a while. So the rima glottidis prevents the air entry at the end of expiration and it also acts as a voice box in phonation. So this rima glottidis, this is the inspiration. Here the vocal folds are abducted and during phonation the vocal folds come close to each other. So this rima glottidis acts as a voice box in phonation. So during phonation the vocal cords come close to each other and there is a vibration of the vocal folds. Now what is the blood supply of the larynx? Now larynx is supplied by the superior laryngeal artery above the level of vocal fold. And superior laryngeal artery is the branch of superior thyroid artery. This is the superior thyroid artery and it gives of superior laryngeal artery which supplies the larynx above the level of the vocal fold, while below the level of the vocal fold The larynx is supplied by the inferior laryngeal artery. This is inferior laryngeal artery, which is a branch of inferior thyroid artery. Then the venous drainage, the veins accompany the arteries. The superior laryngeal vein drains into superior thyroid vein, while inferior laryngeal vein drains into the inferior thyroid vein. Lymphatic drainage, above the level of vocal fold, the lymphatics drain into pretracheal and jugulodigastric lymph nodes. Below the level of vocal folds, the lymphatics drain into pretracheal and paratracheal lymph nodes. Now, what is the nerve supply? This is very important. Now, larynx has sensory supply, motor supply and secretomotor supply. Now, sensory nerve supply. Above the level of the vocal fold, the mucous membrane of the larynx is supplied by internal laryngeal nerve. Now, this nerve is the internal laryngeal nerve. Internal laryngeal nerve is a branch of superior laryngeal nerve. Superior laryngeal nerve is a branch of vagus nerve. Okay. So, internal laryngeal nerve, it pierces the thyrohyoid membrane and it supplies the mucous membrane of the larynx above the level of vocal fold, while below the level of vocal fold, the mucous membrane is supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve. This is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So, above the level of vocal fold, the sensory supplies by internal laryngeal nerve, and below the level of vocal fold, the sensory supplies by recurrent laryngeal nerve. Recurrent laryngeal nerve is a branch of vagus nerve. Then motor supply, that means the intrinsic muscles of the larynx are supplied by recurrent laryngeal nerve except one muscle, that is the cricothyroid muscle. And this cricothyroid muscle is supplied by external laryngeal nerve. This is the external laryngeal nerve, which is a branch of superior laryngeal nerve. So, superior laryngeal nerve divides into external laryngeal nerve and internal laryngeal nerve. The external laryngeal nerve supplies the cricothyroid muscle, while the internal laryngeal nerve pierces the thyrohyoid membrane and it supplies the mucous membrane. Then the third supply is the secretomotor supply, that means the glands of the larynx are supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Now, applied anatomy. Now, larynx can be examined by an instrument, that is a laryngoscope, and the procedure is called as the laryngoscopy. Now, there are two methods of laryngoscopy, indirect laryngoscopy and direct laryngoscopy. Indirect laryngoscopy is performed by laryngeal mirror. This is the laryngeal mirror, and this laryngeal mirror is kept at the posterior end of the tongue. It is situated. It is kept on the posterior surface of the tongue, and then you can see the reflections of the larynx, reflections of the vocal cord in the mirror. So that is the indirect laryngoscopy. Then another method is the direct laryngoscopy. Here this is the laryngoscope. This is rigid laryngoscope, and it is introduced into the mouth, and this is used to introduce the endotracheal tube. So this is the rigid laryngoscope. There is another laryngoscope, that is the flexible fiber optic laryngoscope. And this flexible laryngoscope, it is introduced through the nose, and then the interior of the larynx can be examined. So you can see the laryngeal inlet, the vestibular folds, the vocal folds, the movements of vocal folds during inspiration, during phonation. Then the inflammation of the larynx is called as the laryngitis. In this you can see the edema of the vocal folds. There is a redness of the larynx, mucous membrane of the larynx. Then the laryngeal tumor. The larynx may get, there is a laryngeal tumor in the mucous membrane of the larynx, and the pain from the laryngeal tumor may get referred to the ear because larynx and ear are supplied by the same nerve, that is the vagus nerve. Then foreign body in the larynx, foreign body like thorny structures, for example the fish bone may get caught in the larynx in the vocal folds. Then the coin may get may obstruct the larynx, laryngeal cavity, and this foreign body impaction, it is especially seen in the children. Then in injury to recurrent laryngeal nerve on one side, if there is injury to recurrent laryngeal nerve on one side, then the affected half of the rima glottidis is fixed and there is hoarseness of voice. There is no difficulty in respiration. But if there is injury to recurrent laryngeal nerve on both sides, then the rima glottidis is fixed in paramedian position. There is aphonia and difficulty in respiration. Now, injury to recurrent laryngeal nerve as well as external laryngeal nerve, that means the motor nerves. So, injury to the motor nerves on both sides, then the rima glottidis is further abducted and fixed due to the paralysis of all intrinsic muscles of the larynx, and that larynx is called as cadaveric position of rima. Then in chronic involvement of the recurrent laryngeal nerve due to compression by growing tumor or vascular aneurysm, the abductors of the larynx are paralyzed first, followed by other muscles. Now damage to the external laryngeal nerve. External laryngeal nerve, it supplies the cricothyroid muscle. So if there is injury to the external laryngeal nerve, the weakness of phonation due to loss of tightening effect of cricothyroid muscles on vocal cord. And lastly, during thyroidectomy, the superior thyroid artery should be ligated close to the gland, close to the apex of the gland to avoid injury to the external laryngeal nerve. And inferior thyroid artery should be ligated away from the gland to avoid injury to the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So, in the lecture of thyroid, you must have learned that the superior thyroid artery and external laryngeal nerve, these two structures, they accompany with each other, and close to the apex of the gland, these two structures, they get separated, and therefore during thyroidectomy superior thyroid artery should be ligated close to the gland, while inferior thyroid artery and recurrent laryngeal nerve, they are initially they are separate, but close to the gland they come close to each other, and therefore inferior thyroid artery should be ligated away from the gland to save the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So this is all about the cavity of the larynx, blood supply, nerve supply, and applied aspect of the larynx. Thank you.